The More Show is supported by Mindscape, Paranormal and UFO Matrix magazines. Available for download on all major digital platforms.
If you like what you watch, then don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Twitter for the latest updates on The More Show. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel for new weekly television and radio shows.
The More Show is in partnership with Ozark Mountain Publishing, taking readers beyond the unexplained. The comments and views expressed on The More Show are those of the people that make them and do not necessarily reflect the view of Kevin Moore, The More Show, or this radio station and its affiliate or sponsors. This show is for entertainment purposes only.
Broadcasting from the UK and across the world on TV, radio and online. I bid you all good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be across all the world's time zones. This is The More Show, and I'm your host, Kevin Moore. For the next hour, I'll be covering subjects that will open up your mind and provide you with information you may have never heard before. On today's show, I'm about to be joined by my guest, Patricia Cori, who is an author, lecturer, radio host, and spirit guide to the sacred sites of the earth. In 1995, she founded the Lightworkers Association of Rome, whose studies served as a healing center, school, and the city's only New Age library. In 1996, she established the Lightworkers Travel Club, Soul Quest Journeys. She has guided people through sacred sites in Asia, Mexico, Egypt, Europe, and Peru, awakening them to the earth energies and the secret wisdom. Patricia Cori, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Kevin. Great to be here with you in England.
Oh, it's great to have you on board, and because you're not normally based in the UK, are you? I believe you're based abroad.
Well, I live in Italy, but I'm always traveling around the world, and I'm in England at the moment because I'm getting very close to the concert that I'm putting on April 25th. So I'm here organizing things for that.
Right. Wonderful. And which we'll get into just a bit more during the show as well, because I want to plug that for you. Obviously, the book we're about to interview you about, it's not like the rest of your work. This is very different. Obviously, this is a fictional novel, The Emissary. Just tell us, first of all, how you got to write this book.
I woke up one morning after having written now, I think 12 books I've produced. And I woke up one morning and had the desire or the idea that it was time to write a screenplay because I really want to get my message out to more people. And I think it's time for us to reach out of our spiritual communities and talk to the masses. So I decided I'm going to make a movie. And I just embarked on writing a screenplay with no experience at all. It was really fun. And I wrote the screenplay in a very short time, a few months. After which, my publisher asked to read it, and they loved it so much they asked me to write the novel version. So I'm one of those few people that starts with the screenplay and then adapts it to it.
It's incredible. It's incredible.
Yeah. So it is my first fiction, and it's fiction to a certain extent because my message is still coming through the scenario that's being created as fiction.
Now, with your book, your latest book, The Emissary, how long did it take you to write the book, and what made you want to write such a book as well?
I woke up one morning and decided I want to write a screenplay with no skill to do that and no experience at all. And I went on the internet and searched how to write a screenplay. And the reason for this was that I thought it was time to start reaching more of the masses. And what better way to do that than a film? So since I always just leap, I never worry about restriction or difficulty. I just said, okay, I'm going to do it. So I got on the internet, got a real brief of how to write a screenplay. And I wrote the screenplay version of Emissary within 2 months. And when my publisher read it, she said, "Oh my God, are you going to give us the novel version?" And I did, and that too I wrote in a very few months. It was just driven. There were days when I was writing 16 hours, not even brushing my teeth. I was compelled, really passionate about this subject.
Yeah.
So I've written the screenplay. It's already been optioned to become a major motion picture film. And the novel, The Emissary, actually has come out today in the States and will be out in a very few days in the UK.
Well, congratulations. I mean, obviously, when something seems to happen so easy, in a sense, I'm sure it's not been easy, but when things seem to flow like that, it's got that feeling of meant to be about it, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think anybody that's in the arts, which writing surely is, will tell you that there are these moments when nothing comes at all. You just sit there in a blank brain and look at the screen. And then there are others when this flow just starts and, nothing, not even brushing your teeth, is worth interrupting that. It's quite an exciting process. I love, love, love it.
Absolutely. Now, just tell the audience just a little bit about the book as well.
Okay, well, it's a story of, I don't want to say apocalyptic overtones, but it's a message to the world that there is a sinister secret government, let's say technologies that are disturbing the planet at huge levels. And of course, this is actually very true, as we know. But the story begins with three events that occur. In Los Angeles, 700 blackbirds fall out of the sky, boom, all together, all dead. And we shift to Maine, where at the same time, a woman goes out of her house to go to the beach, and she finds miles, as far as she can see down the coast, piles and piles of fish that are dead and dying. And the third scene is in New Zealand. There's a whale and dolphin beaching on a resort beach in New Zealand. All of these occur at the same time. One of the people that is at the beach, because she's a psychic and a very, very powerful psychic, and she's gone to New Zealand to rest up because of the incredible demands on her. So that's the protagonist, Jamie Hastings. She's in New Zealand to just rest. And what happens is that she goes out to the beach, and here is this enormous whale mortuary where all these whales and dolphins have simply given up and are dying. And during the scene when all of the volunteers are desperately trying to help, they look up and they see a grid in the sky overhead, a grid that is unnatural in the clouds, and they start to get sick. And then the scene cuts. And the story goes on to talk about how this woman is coerced to go out onto the ocean to look for oil underground, using her psychic abilities, to look for oil under the ocean bed by an oil company that has been unsuccessful. So he convinces her, the CEO convinces her that by helping them, she will actually be helping the whales, because that way they won't dredge up the ocean and they won't create a disaster. And then what ensues is a really intricate story of intrigue, sabotage, the CIA, and a lot of dastardly characters that are involved in this very, very dangerous technology that is disrupting the oceans.
Okay. So how much, truth is in the book then, would you say?
Well, let's just put it this way. I love using fiction to tell a truth because it'll probably help my life expectancy ratio. But there's a lot of truth in it. We know about HAARP. We know about scalar waves. There's a lot going on this planet. And I'm revealing that through the fictional genre.
Right.
But we do know about HAARP and what's going on, and chemtrails and those things. And I have openly discussed them in other books. But now I want the masses who don't get it to pay attention.
Okay. And through film, obviously, what a great way to do that as well. And was that always your intention for this? Was a screenplay? I mean, did that just come out of the blue?
it came out of the blue completely. I seriously woke up one morning with this idea, I'm going to write a screenplay without any skill. It's not easy to write a
Mm.
screenplay. In fact, my producer said, authors never can write screenplays because it's another whole technique. You've got to create images for people that are not narrative like a novel or a book, but just, you're writing to the camera.
Yeah.
You give direction to the actors, to the director, and you're writing to the camera. So it's been a wonderful learning process. I love it, and I'm already writing the sequel. I'm starting with the screenplay first, and the sequel is called The Keeper of the Crystal Skull. So I'm bringing in all my esoteric passions into a trilogy. The trilogy of books is called The Hidden.
And also, I mean, I'll jump right into it. You've got the singing, the Oceans Alive in London in April the 25th, I believe it is.
That's correct.
Okay, and just tell us a bit about that.
Okay, well, in 2012, I founded a nonprofit organization in the United States called Save Earth's Oceans, Inc., with the intention not only to work on the many problems that the oceans have, the plastic, the poisoning, of course, the drama that is underway with the whales and dolphins, which are my passion. But I also wanted to bring hope and bring wisdom and knowledge to people about the real purpose of these whales and dolphins. And many people now, scientists also, marine biologists, are looking at the whale frequencies, looking at the sounds, the music, the calls, and suggesting that maybe we don't have it right. Maybe that's not what all they're doing is mating calls and hunting calls. Maybe there's something much more profound about what's going on. And I believe there is. And so in April 25th, I'm producing, I laugh because it's a little bit wild to decide to produce something like this. But I'm producing a concert called Singing the Oceans Alive.
Yeah.
And I chose the Royal Philharmonic Concert Orchestra as our orchestra. And we have 8 very gifted artists who are coming in from all over the world who will be playing music dedicated to the whales and dolphins. There will be dolphin and whale sounds woven into the music, and they will play with the symphony backing them up. So it's going to be a fabulously rich musical evening, and it's a
Incredible.
fundraiser. So hopefully we can get some funds going for the organization.
Yes, because just tell us the bit of a background as well into. I mean, you set this organisation up, I believe, after you had a sort of channeled communications with dolphins and whales. Is that right?
Yes, I've been going out to be with the whales on boats all over the planet for many, many years. I've been, one of the most extraordinary was in Canada, off of Nova Scotia, in this freezing ocean that was so cold that if you fell into the water, you'd be dead in 46 seconds. With glaciers, the whole bit. I have seen it all. And the passion for these beings is so immense that I can't resist, I can't stop. Excuse me.
It's okay.
And some time ago, I don't remember, I think 2009, I started receiving channeled messages from them as well. And the book, Before We Leave You, was born, that you mentioned, I think, earlier. This book is channeled messages from the whales and dolphins for the human race, and it talks about their real function on the planet, the problems that they have. It's an appeal to the human race to understand them. It's a very powerful book. It's been very well received.
And what were some of the sort of life-changing messages from the whales and dolphins that you received as well?
Some of the exciting information that I found really intriguing, it has to do with their galactic presence, telling us that, first of all, they've been here for so many millions of years. They exist on many other planets as well. And they also exist as interdimensional beings. So they, like us, they have the capacity to ascend, to become light body. And they talk about that ever global galactic presence and how their work is about weaving the music of the planet. If you think about it, the Earth's oceans are the emotional body of the planet. And almost 78% of the planet is water. We don't pay much attention to this, but if you think about the Earth as a living being, then the waters are very important. This is the emotional body of the planet. And the whales and dolphins weave the light through the water, through music. And they actually speak of holding the water in balance and helping the molecular structure of the water that we've seen with Dr. Emoto. I'm sure you're familiar with Dr. Emoto's work.
Yes.
So they explain how the music that they sing also helps that water at that molecular level retain the memory. Excuse me, I have a cold.
No, it's okay. If you need to take a drink, just go ahead.
Thanks. Yeah, it's the music, the symphony that they sing helps the water remember its own perfection. It's really very profound and yet so simple.
Yeah, I mean, with dolphins, I mean, obviously you think of them as being highly intellectual, but for most people it sort of stops there, that they, can this being surely be conscious in a sense? But they are, aren't they?
Yeah, well, anyone who doesn't understand that just needs to jump into the ocean once and swim with the whales, swim with the dolphins at least, and you realize they're incredible. They're so full of bliss. And when they're around humans, they're very curious about us. But when you swim with them, my experience was I was so blissed out in the water with 150 bottlenose dolphins. I wanted to swim away with them. I actually had a moment when I said, this is where I go out. And fortunately, there was somebody in the water with me that got me, because I was just in this state of complete surrender. It was fabulous. So for people who are skeptical about this, I just think what a shame to be missing the opportunity to know more about the planet.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Okay, well, on that note, we're just going to take a quick break and we'll be right back.
The Moore Show is supported by Mindscape, Paranormal and UFO Matrix magazines. Available for download on all major digital platforms.
Visit themoreshow.co.uk/shop to purchase products and services from your favourite past guests. If you're new to this site, you can also catch up on the previous television and radio shows through YouTube and the Moore Show website.
The Moore Show is in partnership with Ozark Mountain Publishing, taking readers beyond the unexplained.
Welcome back to the show. I'm joined by author Patricia Cori. Now, Patricia, just before the ad break there, we were just discussing the consciousness of dolphins. And I mean, obviously, dolphins and whales, they seem to communicate with each other, don't they?
Oh, definitely. They have, first of all, they're very socialized. They have pods. They have hierarchies. Once I was in the ocean on the boat, and we were actually racing across trying to go find a place where there had been a sighting of a whale. And out of nowhere, a stampede, at least 400 dolphins were behind us. And all of the babies were in the front, and some of them were not more than a foot long. Yeah. And the adults were in the back. And they were teaching them how to hunt or whatever they were doing. There were just 400 or 500 of them moving in one direction. And the babies were in front, and the adults were protecting them. They were pushing them forward to learn. And I was able to study that and think, wow, look at this. How exciting to see actual behaviors that are indicative of the sociology of the beings.
Yeah.
It's one thing to have them come up and swim around you and then swim away, but to see this kind of movement and understand this was probably some kind of school. Kids were in school.
And you would say, I mean, I think you said it before as well, that our existence, in a sense, depends on their existence, would you say?
Yes, I believe that. Now, maybe not a lot of other people do, but I truly believe that if we hear the message of the whales and dolphins and what they're trying to teach us about the condition of the ocean, I think that without the oceans being healthy, this planet doesn't have a long way to go. So that's why I'm so dedicated to making sure that we do all we can to heal them.
What is the purpose of I mean, you spoke about the purpose of the dolphins and whales in the sense that they're healing the water. But I wonder what the the evolutionary process of the consciousness of the dolphins is for. You know, why choose to incarnate as a dolphin? I mean, I guess why not? But have you ever thought of that?
Well, I'd love to be a dolphin, I'll tell you that. But I'd love to be a dolphin on a planet where there's more kindness and the waters are more pure. We've really got to talk about the waters on this planet. Between Fukushima, which is destroying the Pacific, we're talking about the Pacific being dead very soon, and the sonar blasts that are attacking the dolphins. So some of them are, the whales and dolphins are coming up with their brains blown out by sonar. Pollution, human waste, plastic. We've got a lot of problems here. And I truly believe that the whales and dolphins have something to say to us. They're trying, never like now, I think, have we seen so many people really, really awakening to the whales and dolphins. Wouldn't you agree?
Absolutely.
So I think it may be very well be that this is their time and that we are going to have a breakthrough in communication. And there are people like me, animal communicators, who can hear their messages. But there are also scientists, marine biologists, behavioralists who are trying to break through, not just to teach them how to see red and slap their fins, but actually to speak to them. I think we're going to have that in this lifetime.
I mean, when you consider the damages to the oceans that we do, from a navy, as an example, to, you know, to illegal dumping in the oceans and the coral reef destruction. I mean, it's just, you know, people who aren't so in tune with nature wouldn't consider these as being a problem to the world, would they?
Apparently not. I mean, just recently there was a little accident where a plane, I think it was a U.S. Navy plane, accidentally dropped a couple of bombs on the Great Barrier Reef. Sure you heard about that?
I did.
And accidentally, it just turns out to be that they also want to destroy the Barrier Reef because there are oil deposits there. So fortunately, I think enough people made enough of a stink about it that they were able to hold it off. But the bottom line is, unless the human race starts screaming, this agenda is going to be put into place. And so many people are waking up to this. The ocean is not a toilet bowl. We've got the Gulf with the BP disaster. It's still spewing forward. They covered the ocean with Corexit instead of trying to get to do anything to stop this disaster and get the oil out. They just covered it with Corexit, and supposedly it all went down to the bottom. That can't be good for the ocean, I would think. And then all these other disasters. So a huge wake up in the human consciousness has to happen, and it's our future. Without the oceans, the planet won't survive.
Well, when you consider it like that's right. And you know, I mean, these creatures, I mean, they must be highly sensitive to the way that mankind's treating the world right now as well.
They are. And let's talk about the circus acts that these monumental beasts, and beasts sounds negative, these monumental creatures that are reduced to performing circus acts in sea parks and leaping through hoops for human entertainment. I want that to stop. And fortunately, with the oncoming of the film Blackfish, a lot of people are understanding that has to stop now. So there is quite a revolution going on. India just declared that dolphins are conscious beings and they have rights as conscious members of society. And I think that we could very well be seeing a shift in all of this. I'm going to do my best. I know that.
Well, yeah. I mean, you know, you're completely committed to this cause now, and
Yes.
I mean, do you ever see yourself moving away from this work now? I mean, is this it for now, or?
I have a lot of passions, and from the climbing through tunnels and pyramids and adventuring through the world to find sacred sites and move through those energies, to this passion for the whales and dolphins and everything in between. But I do think that I will never let go of this. I will always be involved in doing my best for them. Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, you mentioned the language before as well, and I don't think I did say that. You know, obviously whales and dolphins communicate with each other, but obviously, are the dolphins and whales are they determined to make contact with ourselves? Do you think?
I believe so. I really do believe so. And it's interesting also when you go into the water with them, they react to certain things. I was once on a boat, uh, and I had a crystal skull in my hands, and I held it up to the side of the boat, and the dolphins came, wild dolphins, not even like Hawaii. This was in the Azores Island. In Hawaii, you've got so many people swimming with dolphins that they really just come very close to shore, and they're used to that. But where I go in the Azores, this is wild turf. I mean, this is the North Atlantic Ocean with 9 islands in the middle of it. And the dolphins come up to the boat and they're just all excited about the crystal skull. And I said, well, now this is interesting, isn't it? It was just abnormal that they would come out of the water and react to that skull. I almost lost it, as a matter of fact, because I was holding it over the edge for them. And when I'm in the water with them, they speak. They first thing that happened the first time was that they actually did a sound, something like a sound healing on me, and I could feel all of this echolation coming into my body. And I said, look at them, they're doing an adjustment. Either that or they were saying, who is this big fish here? But I could feel this going on in my chakra body. And I said, I'm getting tuned up. I wonder if they're tuning me up so that I can speak with them. And it's really very exciting. Another event that happened was a pregnant woman went in the water, and they knew. And all these female dolphins came swimming around her, swimming around her, which was amazing. Again, this is not a tank. This is not a aqua park. This is the deep ocean, which is 2 miles down, right?
Right.
So their behaviors indicate that their immense sensitivity, and I think their desire to break through to us, to reach us.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it makes you think, doesn't it, that, hopefully one day man can realize the beauty that's in the ocean and, just take a bit more care about it. But greedy corporations, as you mentioned in your book, The Emissary, money comes first, doesn't it, in some respects, and it shouldn't do.
I would say that that's across the board, not only about the dolphins and whales, but across the board, we see the greed destroying societies. Well, the rich are getting richer, the poor are getting poorer, and the middle class is disappearing. So that greed, eventually I asked myself, well, those who are in the power to abuse greed, they still have to live on this planet? Or are they preparing to vacate and leave a destroyed planet? Which would be a subject for a whole nother show.
That's a whole nother show. That's right. Yeah. Well, I think I was going to ask you something else there, and it will come back to me just very quickly. But if it's not us killing the whales and dolphins, then they seem to be doing a good job by themselves sometimes when they sort of commit suicide en masse by beaching themselves. I mean, where's your research gone in that direction?
My understanding of the reason why there's so many beachings are occurring is that they are trying to get out of the water because the sound of these sonar blasts is so excruciating. They only know to flee. And they just have to get out of the water. That and the fact that some of them are going deaf. They're losing their patterns, going deaf again from the sonar. I mean, this is happening all over the planet. The U.S. Navy just decided to do another 5-year testing program. So they've openly said they're going to take out marine mammals. So,
wow.
Yeah, and where's the public outcry? I mean, many of us are petitioning and screaming about it. And the organization NOAA takes our petitions and evaluates them. And then the military says, thank you very much, and here we go. So there are several new 5-year plans from the Navy to do tests in the ocean, and one of them is extraordinarily loud sonar. And these whales and dolphins are appearing on the beaches with their heads blown open because they have such sensitive oral cavities that the pressure from this sonar just blows their brains out.
That's just terrible, isn't it? I mean, crikey.
It's heartbreaking. It's very hard as an animal activist to keep the balance so that you're empowered enough to keep doing the work. Because you look at human behavior and ask yourself, are we going to improve this or not? Look at the Faroe Islands. Do you know about that?
I don't know. Tell me, please.
The Faroe Islands, which is a subordinate, I think you could call it, of Denmark, every year they have a ritual where they push the pilot whales, which are the smaller whales, into the bay, and they slaughter them for fun because it's a very macho thing to show that you can go out there and slit open these beings. And my colleague, Hardy Jones, who has an organization called Blue Voice, told me that he walked out into that water and he was walking on dead whales all the way out. He saw a 12-year-old boy slit a whale open live, take out the baby, and slit the baby open. This is human behavior.
Hmm.
So we need to do a lot of work, a lot.
Yeah, I mean, you know, if we look at the way that whales and dolphins treat each other, they don't treat each other as we do in a sense. I mean, there's more of a group oneness in a sense, isn't there? There's
Well, yeah,
more
they,
of
they live in pods. Now, of course, they have competition and a competition for females. And I'm not suggesting that all they do is float around blissfully. I'm sure there are spats, and it's like any other wild animal. If there's an eating frenzy and you get in somebody's way, obviously they also react. And I've seen them mating. And the males get pretty rowdy when there's one female and 5 males around. But by and large, they're peace-loving, beautiful beings that live in pods, travel together, raise
yeah.
their young. And so we snatch their young and we throw them into these SeaWorld environments. And these poor whales never see their young again. I wouldn't like that to happen to our human race. I like to tell people, imagine if some alien race decided to make circus animals out of our young.
Well, that's it. I mean, I'm sure out there somewhere with a comedy channel somewhere, and I'm sure we get quite good ratings. But yeah, no, of course. I mean, it's just but do you think to get to the point where you've got to, do you think that you need to be completely anti-meat in a sense? Because I know that you're a vegan. Are you? I think you are. If I'm right in saying.
Vegetarian.
Vegetarian. So you don't eat no meat.
No.
No. I mean, do you think getting to that point helps to really respect animals in a sense, and that we respect that the sense that we don't need that other type of diet? I mean,
I think that's a really good question, and I do have an answer for that, and that is, as long as we eat of the blood of another animal, there's a certain aspect of that, taking that into our bodies, that is I think, perpetuating bloodlust. This is, for example, the military. They eat so much meat every day that it's out of balance, in fact. And I think that by stopping eating meat, you become conscious of the fact that, number one, you have alternatives, and number two, your energy rises, your body becomes lighter. Consider what it takes to digest meat. It takes 3 to 7 days to digest a piece of meat. So I don't think we were designed for that. But that, I don't like to preach about that because people have very strong feelings about this meat issue. But I am delighted to see more and more people are going the route of vegetarianism or veganism. And that is very important for the planet, because think about all of the excrement. I mean, I hate to go there, but these lakes of excrement for the cows, all of the disease, all of the antibiotics and bovine growth hormones, all of this that you're ingesting. It's not just the question of the pain and suffering of the animal. You're getting antibiotics, bovine, everything, ingesting it with the meat. So I think that by losing the meat, you become more sensitive, simply because your body is, and eating more vegetables, eating more raw foods, you're much more in touch with nature and sensitive to it.
Okay, well, we're just going to take a quick break and we'll be right back after this.
The Moore Show is supported by Mindscape, Paranormal and UFO Matrix magazines, available for download on all major digital platforms.
Visit themoreshow.co.uk/shop to purchase products and services from your favourite past guests. If you're new to this site, you can also catch up on the previous television and radio shows through YouTube and the More Show website.
The More Show is in partnership with Ozark Mountain Publishing, taking readers beyond the unexplained.
Welcome back to the show. I'm still joined by my guest, Patricia Cori. Now, Patricia, welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Kevin. Nice to be here.
Now, fascinating conversation with yourself, and it really just, to make you sort of go into the sacredness of the oceans, and like as your event on April the 25th, the music of the oceans as well, the songs of the oceans, because it. Do you think we were more in tune with ourselves back in the times of Atlantis, more in tune with dolphins, more in tune with the whales? Do you think we understood what their nature really was?
If you read my book, Atlantis Rising, it talks about the three major epochs of Atlantis. Consider that Atlantis was probably about 100,000 years of civilization. And if you consider the damage, or let's say, the way that society has developed in the last 10 years, the way that technology has swept our civilization, some good and some very bad changes because of it. Or if you think about the industrial age, in 100 years, how we've changed, how we've become so detached from the planet. We have to imagine 100,000 years of civilization in Atlantis. And I believe that there were high peaks when humanity was extremely connected, and dark eras, especially the fall of Atlantis, the ending of Atlantis, which in my book, Atlantis Rising, suggests that we are at that point again, and we have the chance or the opportunity to drown again or to rise above. So yeah, I think that the early Atlanteans actually lived in the water a lot of the time with the whales and dolphins. That was prominent. And in many ancient civilizations, I've forgotten, the Minoans. You've seen those beautiful tiles with the dolphins in the mosaics, I imagine, and they were worshipped in so many societies, and perhaps they were actually already communicating with them. We don't know.
No.
I really believe that, from what I've seen in my own experience in the water, I really believe that these whales and dolphins, I haven't swum with whales yet, but the dolphins unquestionably are trying to communicate.
Yes, they are, and I guess there could be a time when science could decode what they're trying to say, or have a rough idea of some of the basic communication.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of work being done now. A lot of researchers are seriously committing to finding the patterns, deciphering them, and understanding them more than just rote memory, training the dolphins, but to actually break through. And did you know, when it comes to the whale music, a whale's call can be heard at least 1,000 miles away. And a whale 1,000 miles away that hears a humpback whale singing will repeat the call and send it another 1,000 miles. They have a relay system around the planet.
Oh my gosh!
There must be a purpose to that. There has to be.
That's obviously been looked into at some depth.
Yes, I have a colleague who plays a conch shell. He developed a conch shell that can be played underwater, and he's learned to repeat the vibrancy, the frequency of whale calls. He spends all of his time with humpback whales. And he told me that he will play a 10-minute sequence, and the whale will sing it back to him. And then he'll hear in Hawaii, 1,000 miles away, his colleague there, that the whales are singing that piece. How exciting is that?
Oh, it's just incredible, isn't it? It's just incredible. It really is. And, I wonder what the dolphins and whales think of us as a species ourselves. Do they consider us a threat, or do they consider us, in a sense, with, some sort of amazement? I don't know.
I think that, again, that's another wonderful question. my answer would be, I think that there is a attunement between many beings that are in the flow of nature, and love can be transmitted, and we well know love can be transmitted to and from animals. You look at the stories of a dog that every night at 6 p.m. goes to his master's grave and sleeps there all night. And if that isn't soul, I don't know what is. So I think that all animals on this planet have the potential to be able to understand and resonate to love and fear, aggression, right?
Right, absolutely. And, I wonder if a dolphin as well considers its own immortality like we do. I wonder if it questions life in that respect.
I think that the higher consciousness of these beings would include them knowing that they are immortal. And it makes sense that I believe everything has a higher self. All living beings have a higher self. The Buddhists, the Tibetans believe you can incarnate to be a tree. So there's no limit to that aspect of our higher consciousness when we really release to it and understand it and allow the idea that all beings are immortal. That's very exciting.
Oh, yeah. And,
Wherever we go from here, I want there to be dolphins and whales there because I love them so much. So much.
Well, yeah. I mean, what you're doing is just an amazing thing. I mean, before starting this interview, I really wanted to just get some of the important points across for this particular type of work, because your work covers so much in a sense, but this is different, and I can see what you're trying to do with this. It's very special, isn't it, to you?
Oh, it's a life commitment. It's a mission. And again, I am going to be working for against the Faroe Islands of the world, Talgi and whatever. But I'm trying to help educate to the beauty because we've got enough of the darkness. And I also plan to work with children. They're the caretakers of the future. So I will be doing projects that involve children, helping them understand that if they don't take care of the oceans, well, I don't want to predict darkness, but I think the oceans are the most important thing that's going on the planet right now. And people may disagree because we've got war on every level.
Well, yes.
It's insipid. A lot of people are not aware of what's really going on.
Well, you think of it, we go out, I mean, we've got we've got the International Space Station. It's amazing. It's fantastic. And there's all sorts of progress taking place with the experiments that go on board and yada, yada, yada. But how much of the world's oceans have we really charted? I mean, how much is uncharted in a sense?
Very true. Certainly, there are, well, if 75% of the planet is water, more like 78, surely we should be doing more investigation without destroying that aspect of this planet. If we would only put that much energy into understanding the ocean that we put into space and weaponizing space, I think we would be very surprised to see what we find.
Well, yeah. I mean, it must be. Yeah, I mean, I've always thought that way as well. It's there's so much uncharted depths. I mean, I know there's some depths that we can't go to in a sense, but there must be lots of amazing things to discover down there, and
which is part of the book.
Which is part of the book. That's right. The Emissary, and with your work as well. I mean, this is going a bit off key here, but I think it fits in. You mentioned multidimensional communication with the dolphins as well and the whales. Would you say there's some sort of galactic communication going on in a sense? Possibly.
I think that the whales and dolphins weave music through all space and time. I think that that's their function. And when you hear about those relays that I told you about, imagine a galaxy or a physical galaxy or a multidimensional universe that has that music, those frequencies, weaving it together, holding it together in a sense. It's so hard to imagine that because we still don't understand the universe. the multidimensional universe is even more remote to us. But it's my understanding that the whales are actually weaving, constantly weaving music and light through the dimensions and through the physical universe, and are very much a part of the how the universe holds together.
Yeah. Well, I mean, always remember watching that film, Cocoon. I think it's a Ron Howard directed film, and how the dolphins were communicating intergalactically with these alien species and stuff, and it was just, it really made you think outside the box, and just how intelligent these beings are as well.
I don't remember the dolphins in that movie.
Yeah, it was in the first one. Yeah. Yeah, you have to watch it
I've
again.
got to see it again.
Yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. It's a good movie, actually.
It was. It's wonderful.
Yeah. I think one of the messages in the book, The Emissary, sorry, one of your messages in the book, The Emissary, is it's got to be the message that we've got to clean up our global situation and restore balance to our ecosystems, haven't we?
In a hurry. I've had some interesting conversations. I'm in London and England at the moment with some very powerful, let's say, movers and groovers, and there is a definite feeling that we are nearing the tipping point. Some people think we're past the tipping point of healing this planet, but I don't. I think that the Earth is immense, and that with just a little bit more awareness, we can shift this. But unquestionably, there are things that we need to look at in a hurry, and we're so busy trying to deal with the pressures of our social structures, our political oppression, I'd have to call it, and so many other things. They're going the financial situation, that people aren't necessarily paying attention to the ecosystems. But I think that's the number one issue for human beings, for every life on the planet.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so important, isn't it? So, I mean, what would you say is the main, we may have already mentioned it here, but what would you say is the most important message from your previous book and your latest novel as well?
You really do ask good questions, Kevin. I suppose the ultimate message is the appeal to the human race to become aware of other forms of life. There's a hint. I don't want to give the book away, but there's more to it than just the whales communicating their plight. There's actually a reference to underwater beings that the whales are guarding. And I think that one of the important messages here is that we have many more life forms on this planet that we're aware of, and that perhaps we need, as a race or as a species, to become less omnipotent about the planet and recognize the intelligence and consciousness in other animals.
Yeah, and the infinite love that they have to give as well.
Oh boy, I'll tell you. I always find it very hard to believe when people don't love animals, because I'm such an animal lover, and I get so much. I mean, I've had so many dogs, for example, and so much love and beauty, and I struggle with the fact that some people could just throw them in a garbage can or kick them in the face. So I'm doing what I can to bring that message forward. Love the animals. They are just as much a part of this planet as we are, and they have every right to live a beautiful life, just like we do. And so I'm thrilled to see that there are countries now starting to address the question of protecting the whales and dolphins as citizens with rights on this planet. That's a huge development.
Yeah, well, I mean, one thing we didn't touch on as well, which I just need to touch on really, is the sort of mass culling. When you look at I mean, there's other countries here as well that are to blame, but just look at Japan as well, and the killings that they do, with the dolphins and whales. It's just terrible. And what international pressure do we really put on them? None. It's their waters. They're allowed to get away with it. But
Right.
hopefully that will change.
One of the purposes of those Talgie experiences is because they're looking for young dolphins to send to SeaWorlds. So they corral them in, they take out the most perfect specimens, the babies, and they send them to these SeaWorlds because they're worth about $500,000 each or some ridiculous amount. And so by going to these SeaWorlds, you are encouraging that market. So these are the kinds of things that people can do. It's not enough for us to just say, oh, what a terrible thing and what a brutal thing in Talgi. What are we individually doing to make sure that this stops? So it can be being on a picket line, it can be writing letters, it can be like Sea Shepherds who are doing wonderful work, actually aggressive behavior out in the ocean, or it can be consciously doing things like not attending ever again, never going to a SeaWorld again, and spreading the word to people that need to understand it.
Okay. And I just want to plug the event one more time as well. Just tell us, the audience, again about the event, and obviously your website as well for future use.
Okay, the concert is called Singing the Oceans Alive. It's very exciting because what a concept. We've got the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra, which is to die for, and wonderful performers from around the world playing with them. And we're looking to create an audiovisual experience as well so that people can feel like they're in the water with the whales and dolphins. So we're putting heart and soul into this. It is a nonprofit fundraising event, and we hope that people will support us by donating what they can to saveearthsoceans.org. That is the name of the website for the organization, and the website for the Emissary is theemissary.info.
Right. Okay. Well, Patricia, I want to wish you all the best success that you deserve for the new movie coming out. I'm sure it's going to be amazing, and I really can't wait to see that and to say, oh wow, she did it. Look what she's done. So well done with what you're doing, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Kevin, and please excuse me for sniffling and things like that. With my little cold going on here.
No problem. Look after yourself. Take care.
Thanks, Kevin.
Well, we've come to an end on today's show. Don't forget that you can listen and watch all our past interviews on The More Show's official YouTube channel. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel for new daily shows. You may also find out more on all past and upcoming guests via themoreshow.co.uk, and do like us on Facebook and Twitter for the latest updates. So until next time, be safe.
The More Show is supported by Mindscape, Paranormal and UFO Matrix magazines. Available for download on all major digital platforms.
Visit themoreshow.co.uk/shop to purchase products and services from your favourite past guests. If you're new to this site, you can also catch up on the previous television and radio shows through YouTube and the More Show website.
The More Show is in partnership with Ozark Mountain Publishing, taking readers beyond the unexplained.